What's up? So, square roots and or roots. So for the purpose of this, we are only going to work with square roots. So only things that have been squared, aka raised to the power of 2. So you will learn cube roots. Really, you can do cube roots if you understand square roots. You can do any root if you understand square roots. So we're going to do base of square roots. I'm talking very fast, sorry. I have come to school at a very late hour. I'm about to be the last one in the building and I have 10 videos to make. So, square roots. I'd say that square roots are kind of a hard thing to explain because the way that you would do them by hand, like to show you the step-by-step process, is a very advanced form of math. It's not something we typically teach in classes anymore. But if you want to learn it, you gotta take some kind of algebra in college. So I'm not going to explain that to you because it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this. So square roots are a lot of memorization. Okay? So for instance, if I was to take the square root of 16, what number times itself, so what number squared equals 16? You can feel free to look this up. You can feel free to try this out in the calculator. I'm hoping at this point that you have memorized that 16 is the product of 4 times 4, so 4 squared. So if you take the square root of 16, you're left with 4. Because remember, it undoes that square and you're left with the original base. So aka 4 squared equals 16, the square root of 16 equals 4. I'm always reading too far over. Okay, let's try it again. Again, these are things you should have memorized. If you don't have memorized, I have provided a list of perfect squares on everything. I should probably explain what perfect squares are. I kind of tried to in the slide, but if you didn't understand it, then here we go. A perfect square is a whole number multiplied by itself. That's a perfect square. So for instance, 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16, and you can literally go up until oblivion, like go to the very end of time. You can keep making perfect squares. What is not a perfect square? Anything with a decimal. Literally anything with a decimal. 5.5 squared, not a perfect square. 6.0222 squared, not a perfect square. These are not perfect because they are not whole numbers, which I know is a little like numberist of us, but they're not perfect squares. So, what you kind of need to have memorized, and if you don't have it memorized, feel free to look up a page on perfect squares. I will provide one for you later on in the near pod when we get to doing squares by hand. Non-perfect squares by hand. But for right now, what you need to remember is 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, and hopefully you guys know these ones. They're like one of the first things you learn if you look in a multiplication table. It's the thing going down the very middle. They normally highlight different colors. Okay? You know these. You just haven't thought of them as perfect squares yet. So what we do is we take what hopefully you've memorized, and I'm going to say, what is the square root of 25? Okay? You go over to your list of perfect squares, you scroll down to 25. What was the original base? 5. And we've undone that square. We're just left with what we had originally, which is 5. Okay? Let's do another one. What is, oh, that was a horrible square. What is the square root of 36? Scroll down your list. Hopefully, you know, 36 is 6 squared. Take the original base, and that is your answer. So basically, if you know what times itself, or what squared is this number, you know the answer already. Perfect squares should be pretty easy to take the square root of. Okay? Next up, we're going to learn how to do it not with a perfect square, which personally I think is my favorite. I'll see you there.